And we're live. All right. Hi, Brent. How are you?
Oh, Ken, doing well. And how's yourself? How
I'm
yourself?
doing, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm kind of enjoying the work I'm doing right now with the coding and just finalizing everything. I mean, we got phase two out. Yay! The test net. So there's still a couple little problems with the some of the testers having problems with it, either crashing or just stop working mostly. And a lot of that really is, edge cases more than likely with network issues and stuff like that. We try to get as many edge cases. We found one edge case while we're at the Game Developers Conference. So, which is basically if you are connected to a mobile hotspot, it would create you two IP addresses, one that's that 169 dot whatever,
Mm-hmm.
thing. And
That
so,
address.
yeah, that local address or the fallback address.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to kind of filter those out. So it's just like every edge case is like, why do you do that? Why do you give a fallback address like that? Just make our lives hard. It's like, what's the IP address? That's all I need. But there's some tunneling stuff that we're working on, and mainly it's like when people are behind these very secure firewalls, or who knows. I hope it'll go through the Chinese firewall too.
The Great Firewall of China.
The big firewall of China. Yeah. We'll see how that works. But yeah, who knows if it works over VPN? I guess it should, but that's maybe another test case that we have to check
Yeah.
out eventually. So yeah, we launched that a couple of weeks ago, and I had to take a vacation to kind of get decompressed, from the relieve my stress a little bit and all that. So I'm good now. I'm just at the end of it, and I'll be back next week full throttle on everything. But I'm kind of working on some sample games. We also released Justin released the software development kit for Unity.
Unity. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was cool because and immediately as soon as that happened, or before that, I started getting pings from the people I talked to before, like at the family office event and the game developers conference. Like, okay, who can we talk to about doing this? I'm like, just go read the documentation. It's so simple. You don't need to talk to anybody. Really, the instructions are there, and it's a couple pages, but it's mainly, how do you integrate into Unity? And I don't know, but people always want to talk to somebody, and that's fine. I just we need some developer relations people soon, I guess. Yeah.
But maybe we got to make it more like the instructions that the comedian brought up about the Pop Tarts. How do you toast a Pop Tart? Like open wrapper, toast Pop Tart.
Put it in toaster, push button down on
Push down, down.
it.
Cross fingers.
If you smell burning, immediately pop it back up.
Yeah. In fact, if you do smell burning, please do contact us. That would be very interesting.
Nice. Yeah, so the state of the crypto market in general, I mean, we're kind of, heads down again, just because it's we didn't get an altcoin season really. And I mean, I'm sure it'll be here soon enough, within the next couple months. The timing is going to be great for that. And on the other front, the release of the Crypto Nights things. I don't know if you know this, Brent, but that's American company picked it up. Can't name who, but it's one of the big ones. And it's coming out around May 30th, and all the episodes are being released at the same time. And so, who would do that? What big streaming company would release all the episodes at one time like that? I don't know. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's up to you to guess. And if you pick one of the three, you'll probably be right.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I'm a little nervous about it. It's like, do I look good on camera? Do I? Who knows? It's okay.
Well,
But
yeah, certainly with these kinds of things, you don't know if they're going to roll their editing towards, showing the best parts of what we were doing, presenting. Are they going to attempt to make this just needless drama and try to, show a spot where it looked funny, whatever. Who knows what their goal is, but
Yeah.
we knew it was coming out, as soon as February of this year. That's what they had told us at one point, is that might be that early, but
Yeah.
May, okay.
Yeah. I just that would be a good time for the altcoin market to ramp up, but that is only like a month and a half away.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I think we'll do well. One of the things that I've been doing a lot is using AI quite a bit, like a lot of the chats, like Grok and Chat GPT 4.5 and even Sonnet 3.7. A little perturbed at Sonnet 3.7 because it does fairly good at coding, but you have to tell it to, hey, just don't go out there and start spewing code on me. Let's work this out first, right? What I want you to write. I'll give it a sentence, and then I'm like, okay, here's all your code. And I'm like, that's not what I wanted. So you didn't understand. But that's why I like Grok, because Grok actually will not spit out code until you tell it to. But I found a good prompt that says, hey, you're a senior software engineer. Don't refactor this whole thing. I just need to change certain things. Certain algorithms need to be vetted, and don't write any code until I tell you to. And if you're going to write code, if you're going to try to change existing code, try to do the minimal possible. Because I hate Gemini. I went over to Gemini 2.5 and tried to do it, and it was just like it refactored the whole damn code on me. I said, I just told you not to do that. And then everybody's talking about Cursor and all that, where it'll edit in the IDE for you. And I tried that too, and it's like, whoa, stop, don't do that. no, don't change my code. Right? It's like, here's what I think you want. No. And so
in my own experimentation with a Cursor, it is interesting the number of times in which it has gone off in la la land with hallucination and says, oh, what you're attempting to do is not possible. You have to do this giant circumvention. And it's like, it's completely and utterly wrong. What I'm asking to do is very possible. And then there's other cases where the opposite happens, where it really produces very, very, very helpful code. And it's like 50-50. You just have to watch it. But I'm really looking forward to seeing when things like that become, even more prime time. I heard that they're setting up to make Grok available within Cursor, so that should be good.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that's great, and I saw somebody on X was talking about this. It's like, hey, we have all these large language models that are doing all this stuff for everybody. Why don't people just? Why is it that it's not possible, or people aren't setting up their own servers like on AWS, right? And running this and charging $20 a month, like, Grok and ChatGPT and all that. And he's like, because it's not profitable. That's why. You charging somebody $20 a month is not profitable right now because of various costs, getting H100s. I mean, Elon spent $6 billion on the first 100,000. So I guess or he raised 6 billion to put in the full 200,000 nodes, right? And they're not even charging for it. So it's like, okay, how are you making money? I guess what they're going to do is they try to rope you in, and then it's like, okay, now it's $20 a month, or something like that.
Well, they're all playing the game of, who's going to lead the industry, and much like the Uber whole spent a decade plus not really being profitable. They just wanted to make certain that their dominance was, absolute. So we've got that same game, unfolding here.
Yeah, one of the and so I actually went through with Grok and ChatGPT and a couple of them to talk about the economics of Genius to do LLMs. And really, it turns out that even if you are on if we use DeepSeek and the mixture of experts and do our Chat Genius, which we plan on doing, we could be profitable at $5 a year for unlimited tokens because we have no operating expense or very little operating expenses and very little capital expenditures, which, in order to make a profit, you got to first meet those debts, right? And those expenses. And so even if you were on the Chat GPT 24/7, right? And unlimited tokens, the most amount of our cost, which is basically farming out Genius tokens to the, the end users, right, is $4.78 per year. And so we could charge $5 a year and still be 12 cents profitable per person.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and you start adding it up, and then the fact that the Genius tokens have deflationary burn mechanisms in there, it becomes a very viable product. And I went to Grok and I said, hey, don't pretty much blow smoke up my rear. Just tell me where the holes are here, what's wrong here, what am I missing, and just tear it apart as much as you can. I did the same thing with Chat GPT, and neither one of them, they kind of came up with some stuff, but I was like, oh yeah, we're doing that already, and here's what we're doing. And they're like, oh, okay, then you have it covered. There's like two things. And I said, well, yeah, we're already doing that in terms of risks and rewards and things like that. So I'm not saying it's 100% guaranteed or anything like that, but the fact that the LLMs can't really poke holes in the vision that I have for the next few years on doing this and running LLMs. In fact, I spent like 2 hours talking with it about mixture of experts and using DeepSeek and distributing that across these devices and things like that, and even down to the thing where it's like, okay, an iPhone has 1 teraflop, and it's like, oh, that's plenty to do, X 100 experts. And I said, whoa, slow down. We don't want to use the full teraflops of the GPU, right? And I said, we want to be in the background, and we might want to only use 10% of it, if that. And then, so then we went through the calculations on that, and it's like, okay, well, 8's pretty good. And it's only about 200 megabytes total for those 8 experts to be on an iPhone device with 1 teraflop. And so I'm like, okay, well, again, they verified that it worked. It went out and did the research for me. That's what I love about the LLMs, right? Deep search on Grok and stuff like that is great. So in general, it kind of, I went over everything about the games and how they integrate with it, and the LLMs and apps and the burn mechanisms and all that. And I tried to make it ultra conservative. And I'm like, let's say we only got 1,000 games and we only got a couple of these guys, and no matter what we did, it just took longer to get the token up because of the burn mechanism. It's all about the adoption rate, really, is how fast it's going to go there. I really believe that if we have an inexpensive LLM chat that nobody can beat in price, that and leverage the open source things like DeepSeek, that we may get competition by people trying to steal our stuff, but that's where patent comes in general. What's been your experience? I mean, I've been talking for a minute or two here, but what do you think about all that kind of stuff?
Well, I certainly do believe that, turning this towards profitability, it's just like you say, to have not the capital expenditures that all the centralized players, are having to front, and they're having to like look at, well, when are we going to amortize this? It'll be a decade, it'll be 15, 20 years, God knows what. And for us to be, positioned with, well, that's not our problem. And with advancements, like DeepSeek, mixture of experts, it's like, well, I would rather be where we are than I think any other platform, anything else. And it's almost like I feel like I'm going, whoa, phew, glad I'm not them. Whoa,
yeah, dodge the bullet.
I'm not them. Like, oh yeah, kind of like Neo in the Matrix. Like, whoa, I'm in the right spot as the bullets are zinging by, and it's like nice to find that nice little, almost safe space. So I'm pretty jazzed about it. I got my popcorn out and I'm watching everyone else deal with, these kinds of trials or burdens, if you will, and for us to be free of that.
Yeah, and they have a different burn mechanism than us. They just burn cash to do it.
Yes, yes.
And that's not deflationary for them. They have to, get that money back to their investors and things like that. And so, it really is a unique proposition. I'm looking forward because I also did something which I'm going to be um, open about here. I went and talked with Grok for about an hour on the losses I had for NVIDIA stock back in the day. And just like if I had, you know, kept the stock and paid the taxes, and this was my plan back then because I had worked at Electronic Arts in the 90s and I had gotten stock, but I sold it at the time for Electronic Arts because I treated it as income, part of my income, right? And what I realized after two stints there and getting the stock and then doubling, I'm like, I should just keep that. And so that was my plan at NVIDIA, was just to keep that. And I kept a lot of my Google stock, but for the same reason, because what you can do is, as it goes up, you can just borrow against it. And Larry Ellison is famous for doing this, but it's called like um, hold something and then die, borrow and then die. And then, it's just borrow against it forever. And then you never have to pay taxes on it. It's a loophole, or not really a loophole, but sort of. I don't think it'll be changing anytime soon because, the billionaires are the ones that are benefiting from that. But, us little guys can benefit from it too. But anyway, I just thought it was fun because I don't know. I guess beating myself up about it wasn't my fault. Charles Schwab told me I should invest in Lucent and margined NVIDIA stock against Lucent and got a margin call. But so it was just interesting to see if my plan would have been valid. It would have been very valid right now. I would have had close to $1 billion in NVIDIA stock if it had panned out. So that's a pretty expensive lesson to not. That's what I like about large language models too, is because now you can educate yourself very quickly, right? And you don't have to worry about a broker or somebody lying to you, just to make a commission, right? They'll tell you. They're not making a commission, so they'll just tell you the truth about the data and what's out there. And so it's actually expedited quite a few things for me. I mean, I can write up a document. I just added a README to the Voxel room generator that I'm working on for a game. And the README, I said, hey, do this. And in 10 seconds, it basically scanned the code and wrote me a great README. And Justin did the same thing for the Unity SDK. He had to only correct a couple things, but it wrote almost the entire thing, right? And us as humans, we'd have to think about it and write a paragraph and then go remember and then write the next paragraph and go remember the thing. Most humans don't have all that data in memory that they can just pull from like instantly and write a document. But
I mean, this whole phenomenon for me, I just feel like is both on the one hand alarming in terms of how much it is disrupting everything, and on the other hand, it's also very exciting. You hear sometimes people talking about, oh, it's time for humanity to expand in consciousness, and I even heard Elon Musk make a comment about that, which I was surprised. He said, my biggest goals or my biggest concerns are that we get to Mars and we expand human consciousness. Like, oh, that's a thing for him. But I think to play that in a practical way, it's interesting I reflect myself on how am I not utilizing this technology beyond the obvious. I mean, I ask plenty of questions, as does anyone, but I almost hound myself. What am I missing? What am I not asking? What am I not considering about how to apply this? And it's like, okay, I guess I better expand my consciousness if I'm going to, ride the wave suitably.
well, there was an X post recently where they said, hey, you should ask since the chat GPT 4.5 now has all of your stuff in memory and can access all of your stuff that you've ever chatted with it, right? A little scary, but I'm like, that's fine. I mean, I'm not asking anything that I wouldn't show to anybody that wanted to see it. And then it said, ask about where your 5 blind spots are, right? Something like that. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'll go try it. And oh my God, it was so accurate. The only thing it wasn't accurate on, the first 3, my wife read it too. And it was like, that's totally accurate for you. Just about how I'm very technical, and I think logically first when sales are sometimes emotional for people. And I'm not a salesperson. I don't like to sell to people emotionally. I just don't like that side of things. But in general, if I guess excitement is emotion. So if you're excited about our project and you can see the potential of it, then I guess that's kind of selling it on emotion, but it's more for the utility for me, right? And that was one of them. But the other two were kind of wrong only because its total data that it had did not include. It said that sometimes you can come across in your writing, when you use, first person, I guess, Kenneth Hurley, Kenneth Hurley did this and Kenneth Hurley did that, right? And so, well, I don't, when I'm meeting somebody face to face or we do this, it says you got to have a little more humanity, I guess, about you.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, it didn't know about these videos that I do, right? Or my interactions people to people. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So in general, the AI is good at the digital side of things, but when it comes to user or human to human interaction, it just doesn't, it can't analyze you fully. So there's a it may be able to do that eventually with video, processing video and go, oh yeah, his emotions came across well and things like that. That's going to get really scary, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I never did. I think,
Well,
you
yeah,
know,
for me, it's a caution because I feel as though AI having access to that much greater breadth of analysis of who you are and who I am, that when that day is achieved, I'm concerned it's going to be through a system that is not accessible to me. It'll be a social credit system, and there'll be some other clown who's like, okay, now we've got all these videos of Brent, and we've got this computed score as to what kind of personality profile is he, and I don't even know that this is going on. So back to that commentary I made about this is a good juncture for expansion of human consciousness, which is my nervous way of saying I need to get better at being aware of knowing what I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm trying to say that.
well, so the follow-up comment on that X post where that guy said, oh, you should try this, was, hey, here's a better one. And he talked about act like you're a CIA operative, and then you're going to go in and figure out all your things and stuff like that, and how much of a risk you are to society. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to do that. Like, let the CIA do that and figure it out. But I'm like, maybe I should do that and see, what it thinks of me, And then one person was like, yeah, even better, go to Gemini 2.5 and have it scan your browser history as well. And I'm like, yeah, no.
Well, we're back to the social credit system. So
Yeah.
assessing whether you are a risk to humanity. Well, that's interesting.
Oh.
Based on whose criteria? Am I a risk because I'm a threat to an established, even corrupt system? Am I, a risk to actually disrupting things and making the world a better place? Well, it's all in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, well, that's what genius is. And that's kind of why I was mentioning it. It's like, I would rather be stealth and disrupting the big guys. They don't know about us really yet. So that's good. And until the switch flips and all of a sudden they're like, oh, we're losing market share. And I already know that's starting to happen. They just don't know it yet. Or
Mm-hmm.
maybe they do, and they're just, big behemoth companies that can't turn quick enough to correct that. I mean, look at
Mm-hmm.
Yahoo. I always bring up the story about Yahoo, right? Back when Google first came out. I was a big person on Yahoo. I loved Yahoo search and all that, with everything that came up with that and the nice graphic interface. And then Google came out and I had a chance to invest in that, but I did not understand what they were doing. And I'm like, what? One little search bar? And that's it? I mean, yeah, that's simple, but I want to see graphics and I want to see this and I want to see that. And Yahoo, Google's never going to win against Yahoo, and here we are. Does anybody talk about Yahoo anymore? I guess they still exist, but
Yahoo Mail.
Yahoo Mail maybe. But anyway, so that's the same type of thing that I think is going to happen to these big businesses that aren't so forward looking. to understand what's coming in the next 10 years, 10 to 15 years. Or sooner with the way AI is going.
Well, I mean, we're already watching at a social level, never mind, hardware platform depend. We're watching at a social level, a decentralization occurring sociologically. The purported, there's this meme that gets circulated that says something like, Elon spent 40 billion not to purchase Twitter. It was the cost of repurchasing free speech or something like that, and maybe you agree with that or you don't buy into it. Yet what I do believe is happening is we are indeed watching the access to information that educates people regarding their health choices, their political choices, et cetera. It is, whether for good or worse, it is definitely decentralizing, largely due to these platforms. I don't mean to say that it is done absent of the technology, but sociologically, we're already kind of merging into our DNA the acceptance of that decentralization, which, as far as I'm concerned, that ultimately is going to be a very, very good thing, because the alternate course or path, which is where I'm going to place ever greater faith in a central authority that is going to have my best interest in mind all the time. Now, for some people, that is still the thing. That's what they want. Me personally, that is not something I'm comfortable with, because, what is that expression that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely?
Yeah.
I think that is, applicable. So, for what it's worth.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's shift over. We got about half an hour left, a little over half an hour. Let's start shifting into some of these questions here. I see, how did the game developer conference go? And I kind of wanted a little bit to talk about that anyway. So that's a great question. It went fantastic. It was a very small show, though. Unity wasn't there. Unreal wasn't there. At a game developers conference, you'd think they'd be there. But in general, we had quality people. Because it wasn't such a big show, we had 90% of our people that were coming up and talking to us were high quality people that we'd want to talk to. Like, for instance, I talked to what's the name of that game engine? Not O3D, but the founders of, gosh, why can't I remember the name of that game engine? It's a third, is you got Unity, Unreal, and Godot. It's just a weird name. That's why I can't remember it. The Godot founder, who I've been trying to talk to for like 3 years, because I've written game engines, right? And I know how to do shaders and all that. I'm like, hey, look, I like that you're open source and you're in C++. Let me know where I can come in there. I did a bunch of stuff with, anti-aliasing, high resolution text rendering and things like that, and fixed a bunch of different projects for doing that. I could help out. Nothing, crickets. So he comes up to me, one of the founders, co-founder, and is like, hey, I really like what you guys are doing. We should talk. And I'm like, dude, I've been trying to talk to you for like 3 years. Sure, give me your contact information. So it's like, I guess when you have something to offer them, then it's like, or they can benefit from you, then, but I don't know. Anyway, so, and then one of the other people I talked to was, it was kind of funny, because Arizona State University, and they came up with this guy, and they want to know all about Genius and all that. And I said, start talking to him, look down at his tag, and I won't give you his last name. I'm like, I wonder if that's somebody's son that I know, that's a billionaire. I said, probably just coincidence anyway. You'll probably figure it out once I give you the name of the company, because you can go do some research on who it is. And he started talking and went through everything. And he said he has this project which helps impact investing. And what they do is they buy these computers for low-income areas, and they basically do education, and they do games, and they train them on how to do games and things like that. And he said that, hey, we have these computers that we give them, but they pay $30 a month basically to pay off the computer. Could Genius help end up paying that off for them? I said, absolutely, 100%. Probably plus. If they make a game, they might make way more than $30 a month. But even if they don't make a game, the way the economics, and I kind of explained how the economics and everything. He's like, oh, well, we should definitely work together on this. And it's Endless Studios is the name of the company, and his Endless Ventures. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's great. Here, I'll get your contact information. So I scanned his contact information, and I was going to follow up with him like 2 weeks ago. Actually, I did follow up with him, but then on his way, he started to walk away from the table, and he looks back and he's like, hey, are you looking for investment? I said, well, we're not. I'm like, I don't want to chase $100,000, for this. I've already put all my own money into this, and I don't want to bring somebody else in that hounds me about when the next project's, when it's going to be finished and all that, for $100,000. I'm not going to chase that. So I kind of said, well, sort of. I'm going to start this up again here in the next couple of weeks, which is going to start next week. I'm going to start approaching family offices again, family office to try to make investments that way, because they're not like VCs where they'll pivot you at the first sign of trouble. They're really invested for the long haul in that. And then he's like, well, hit us up first. And I was like, what? I just told you his family office. Wait a minute, that guy, who is this guy? And sure enough, I went and looked him up and typed in his name, and he is the son of that billionaire. He's his son. And I was like, okay, yeah, okay, that guy is a family office probably, but he has a really good MO, modus operandi, for what he's doing in, giving technology to the world to help solve, get them educated and things like that. And I was like thinking about it, and I'm like, wow, I really want to. It's called Endless OS that he has on his computers. I was like, wow, we got to get Genius on that, because that is kind of what I've been thinking about for the longest time since I started this, the impact investing part of it, and to actually, help out somebody, in poor countries that can't afford a computer and now can basically make a living writing video games or writing educational software or just writing software in general, right? And I was like, okay, I think this is good. So I contacted him a couple of weeks ago. I didn't hear anything yet, but I'm going to follow up. But if anybody wants to do the due diligence with that story and type it into the chat to see if you can figure out who it was that I met. Really cool guy, really nice guy. I was kind of blown away, just like I'm talking to him, just, not even knowing who he is really, and just going, oh, he's probably doing some kind of cool thing with games and stuff like that. And I told him, I said, yeah, we'd still work with you, even before I found out who he actually, his net worth. Really, I don't really care about that. Even if they don't make an investment, I still want to work with them, because that can actually grow the Genius ecosystem quite well, and kind of have the impact that I want it to have, is like, pay out to the poorer countries where they can make a living, with technology, basically. All right, so that's kind of how the game developer conference went. We got a bunch of game developers that were just, they signed up, and they want us to let them know when they can use the SDK. And since we launched that yesterday or day before yesterday, now we can start. Got to get the marketing team to start sending it out to them. I'm a little worried because I don't want to have to support 2,000, game developers all at once. So maybe we'll kind of leak it out or something. I already had one person that I talked to at a family office event ping me the day before yesterday and said, hey, can I get Justin's contact information? We want to know how to integrate. I'm like, oh my God. So I set up a Telegram channel for that, for developers. And that's how we're going to have to handle that. I just don't, I need Justin to do work. I can't have him, being a developer relations engineer. We're going to have to hire some eventually, but I was afraid of this, that they all want on board and they all want a white glove service. And, we got to get everything prepped for NextLogic and get it on their systems. That's our main goal right now. All right. So imagine a future where AI gets every waking moment from you as data, all that you said or perceived from birth. Oh, that is scary. At least I have good intentions with your data. It's to improve your life, improve your health, all that. I've always said this system and my mission and my vision is AI for good. And so what better place to store that data than with, Genius and a founder that wants to keep your data private and wants to keep, use AI for good and not, to give you a credit score, a social credit score.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a good point. What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. To be part of this, what you could almost see it as like the battle between the good and evil, which is unfortunately a little bit too true, because there's going to be those entities, institutions, etc., even ideologies that really,
Three-letter agencies.
yeah, that do perceive this technology to be, the smorgasbord of how they can just exert even more of what I think is the nefarious ends. I mean, ultimately, I think it is best suited for the good guys. And yes, I'm going to claim that's us. So I mean, it's not, I think, the intention to have, Genius AI, like we're saying, hey, give us all your data. It's like, well, the purpose here is for the processing, particularly the AI processing. That's, that's what we got our eyes on. But,
hey, sorry to interrupt you, but, also just so everybody knows, we plan on keeping all your data private by encrypting it and doing, AI with the encrypted data. And so, it's all, even though somebody may be able to see your encrypted data, they won't know what the outcome is. And only you will be able to get the answers back for that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's the goal. It's not quite there yet with the encrypted side of things, but it will be.
Yeah, the point is not decentralized access to what you're processing for everyone. No. It's only for you.
Yeah, and actually, even the better part of that is that even at this stage, because I have this great analogy. Like, imagine I'm on a beach right now, by the way, overlooking a beach. Let's say you have this beach, it's Newport Beach, and all these grains of sand here, and your node is not a grain of sand; it's actually a component like carbon in that grain of sand, right? And that's the data you have. So you don't know that you're on a beach. You don't know that you're even a grain of sand. And so you would not have, it's almost like encryption. It's more super obfuscation, really. It's like, oh, you got a couple bits over here and you got a couple bits over here. You can't put that together unless you get them all. And you can't do that because it's so decentralized. So it really is sort of like encryption, because there's some randomness involved in what data you get. Right. And you get to process, and it's chunkified. So you only may get a small chunk of something. And so you can't reconstruct a beach from knowing that you're carbon, for instance, in a grain of sand, or silicon. I don't know.
It's almost like an implicit zero knowledge rather than what we normally think of as zero knowledge, which is, you've got explicit algorithms. This is like an implicit zero knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And we even took that one step further, is that we have explicit zero knowledge with your account balances and your account ID, and for more privacy. And still, we do it in such a way that we can remain compliant with regulators if we're forced to do something, right? Like, but the only thing we will be able to expose is your account and the amount of that transaction. That's all the data we have. Right. It's not like we can tell them what your IP address is or anything like that. So it's all good. But anyway, so that was actually a great Imagine the Future thing, because it brought up a lot of points. All right. So our next question up there, let's see. Scroll down. Hello, I'm along. All right. I'm going to go ahead and show this one, because even though probably not going to be the answer he wants. Hello, I'm a longtime investor with the recent rug pull of Mantra. Look, I'm not going to discuss what other people are doing. Were the Mantra people doxxed? If they were, then just go sue the shit out of them. I mean, we're not going to rug pull you. It's like, you see my face, you know who I am. I'm not anonymous. And do you think I'm going to be dumb enough to rug pull when I know the U.S. court legal system? Give me a break. It's like, you can be wary of projects who team hold 90%. It doesn't matter, because I also own 99% of Genius Venture stock, and I'm going to eventually take that company public, and I'm going to have some other investors. That's just the way it is when you're a startup. And the fact you have to also realize that not only the team is 90%, but the main only actually seed investor that's put in $2 million is me. So it's not the same thing. I have a bunch of money at risk. I have $2 million at risk. And so I guess, if I was really evil, I could rug pull and try to get that back, but there's not even that much liquidity in the thing. Right. And so I'd much rather try to earn my $2 million plus and make it 200 million than rug pull a couple $100,000 from the thing. It's just ridiculous. And if people don't understand that and they're leery of it, fine, just watch this video. And I'm telling you, there I am, I'm, obligated to the project. It's been going on for 9 years. There hasn't been a rug pull. Those people like Mantra haven't been around like that. There's been no sales from me. I did transfer a few shares to some marketing people of my own shares, to marketing people or to some team members and things like that. But it's like I don't plan on selling it. And if I really should put out that Chat GPT for people to read about NVIDIA stock. I have no intention of ever selling the token. I'm going to borrow against it, sure, when you can, but there might be some minting going on from the treasury, but at very, very slow kind of investment type of minting. Like, if we're going from seed to round A, we're going to give them a few tokens as token warrants and stuff like that. This is not, I've been doing business for 45 years now. I know you guys, all the crypto market's worried, but geez, you guys invested in meme coins and got rugged for millions of dollars. Don't talk to me about Genius. Genius is not a meme coin. And it's like, yeah, you're leery of projects and yet you guys will go and try to, invest in a meme coin to speculate on a meme coin to see who can race to the bottom or who can be at the top for the longest, I guess, and we're not doing that. This is like a real business.
And I want to throw in my own 2 cents here. Is like, it's funny to look at this from the perspective of like, oh, are these people going to rug pull me? It's like, well, if that was the intention, we're going about it the most horribly awful way possible.
Yeah.
Because the amount of blood, sweat, and tears to get a real product, to the world. Like, if the intent is rug pull, for God's sakes, all this effort is not necessary. It is. So yeah.
And also, do you think I would have taken my own money after the exploit and put my own money in there to recover the project if I was going to rug pull? We just said, screw it. Oh well, sorry. So sorry for you, And we got the Ethereum base back to 1 million tokens, thanks to me and putting up the money. That's the dumbest rug puller ever, isn't it? Putting his own money in. Yeah. And so that liquidity that's in there was actually 100% because of me, because of putting my money in there, buying those tokens back. And then, there was, I originally put up the 250K tokens too, to launch the Ethereum thing, because I had the team token. I had majority of the tokens. I just gave them to the treasury to basically do that. And then we minted some more, but in general, I just gave up some of my tokens that I owned on Ethereum for the last 9 years and said, okay, let's use those. I'm the dumbest rug puller ever. I basically put my tokens in there and don't take any money for it. That's the dumbest rug puller ever.
And now I get this image in my head of a profile picture, Ken Hurley, dumbest rug puller ever.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, when I told people to DCA in, when the price comes down, that was a general, not just for Genius, right? I made a lot of money trading between Ethereum and Bitcoin back, 7, 8 years ago, arbitraging between those, but I had to use DCA. And there's something called, starts with an M, not Marguerite DCA or something like that. And it wasn't meant to tell people, hey, you'll be okay with Genius. It's more like, in general, you should use dollar cost averaging, not that's the easiest, and swing trading. These speculators, you can't DCA into a meme coin. And so you got to find a good project that's actually doing stuff. And I mean, look at our repos and the amount of code that we've done. And 45 years of doing coding and things like that. I'm aging myself now, but anyway, yay for the good guys. Thank you. Player Taco 1.
Yeah, don't mention the 45 years coding. Just say 30 plus years of experience.
Yeah, it used to be 20 plus, and everybody like, we were old. Now it's 30 plus. We should be like 50 plus. All right. So let's see here. I'll show this one. Are you going to plan something to attract new investors and reassure them on the, what is that, issue? Apart from telling the community, trust me, I'm not going to sell. Reassure them on the, I don't know what that word is, maybe issues, something. Yeah, we're going to do that, sure. But at this time right now, there's no reason to do marketing because you're kind of blowing your money for no reason in a down market or a non-altcoin environment. And I'm definitely going to attract investors. That person I was talking about, it's like, look, I'm not interested in attracting, $100 from speculators on the open market. What I'm doing is we're building a real company. The token is going to go up eventually. And the investors that I'm going to be attracting will be buying the token, of course. Like if I strike a deal with this guy in the Endless OS and he wants to make an investment, he's basically going to buy tokens, right? And so that's going to probably, we may even buy some of them back from the open market to give to him, right? And so we'll use some of it for development and some of it for growing the business. But in general, I'm not looking to really pump this thing for speculators. And I've said that again and again and again. So, there's a difference between a speculator and an investor. An investor is in it for the long haul, will hold, and understands that the business is going to be successful, or it's a risk. Not every business succeeds, but I'm damn sure that I'm have enough tenaciousness in me that this is going to succeed. I'm not going to quit. And that's when businesses fail, is when you run out of money or you quit. Or you quit because you run out of money or other things happen. But I don't want to, because I know this is a disruptive future for us. Anyway, so really, I mean, it depends on what you mean by attracting new investors. I'm not going to attract. I have no desire to attract speculators and pump their bags. So, but yes, we will be doing some marketing. We will be getting the word out, but it's more for adoption and getting users and understanding our system, and that will eventually drive. It'll drive speculators to our thing as well, and then they can make money. But I have no intention of supporting the speculators, right? It's like, if you want to do an OTC deal with me and have a lockout period, I mean, this is kind of what happened with Crypto Nights, right? Same type of thing. I guess maybe I shouldn't say too much about that until it comes out. All right. All right. Well, I don't know. Yeah. Look, Brent, you look great on camera. Thanks, Alex.
I think he's referring to you, Ken.
Yeah. We're too modest. Best strategy to tackle the top-heavy token distribution issue. All right. So let's see what this says. This week, the team has started discussing best strategy to tackle top-heavy token distribution issue. A lot of brainstorming and dialogue going on. When resolutions are agreed upon, we'll share that in the AMA and more. Yeah, so we are looking at that. I mean, really, you have to understand, when I first issued water holders some tokens, I did not expect the thing went to $192, and I was expecting it to be at $1, and a lot of those guys. Most of those OG token holders, original gangster token holders from the water token irrigation project, actually were kind of partners of mine on that project. We kind of went in together. And so some of those are actually still on board helping out with stuff, and they help out quite a bit. So really, you have to consider those are team tokens for the OG water holders. And I know it's a lot, but they're most of them are. There's a few regular water holders that were not, team, and they've already kind of liquidated theirs on Polygon anyway. And so great for them. Okay, you made a few dollars, but you're going to be missing out on millions eventually. But yeah, we're talking about it, and we'll soon be doing that. Ideal strategy to tackle the top heavy. Okay, blah blah blah. Alex, relax. Yeah, I am actually. When I went to Hawaii, I did not. I don't. I did not touch my computer. I had my phone, of course, and messaging, but I had my computer with me, and I didn't open it up at all. I went on the beach, and I went by the pool, and I slept, and I went out to the beach, and I went into the ocean, and I did a little boogie boarding, and all that. So, yeah, after I came back from Hawaii, I was pretty relaxed, and now I'm. This is the second week of relaxation with my older daughter, but it's that's what you need to do. That's why I spent the money and just said, screw it. We got to go on vacation because I need to relax and decompress. All right. Let's see here. See, I knew it was you, Brent. This is funny. I'm wondering about that. I think I would, because I love what I do. I keep telling my wife, retirement just means doing what I want to do. I'm not a golfer. What am I going to do? If I wasn't doing this, I might be doing it on a 90-foot yacht in the Caribbean, but I'd still be doing it. How's that?
That's actually a really good point. I just, asking myself the question, what would Ken be doing? It's like, based on everything I know of Ken, it's like, how do you claw him away from this project? And what kind of treat do we have to dangle in front of Ken to say, oh, no, this is something else you prefer to do? And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen.
I think there's been attempts at that. It seems like sometimes I've had people try to, ask me to do other stuff and drag me away from this project. And I'm just like, not only no, but F no. The only one that really can drag me away from this are my family, my wife mainly, and my daughters, but only for short bursts at a time. Not
a little vacation maybe. That's about
like
it.
on vacation or something like that. Yeah. Well, so thank God for bad investing. Yeah. That's pretty painful, but it wasn't me. It was just my not knowing it's really thank God for me being uneducated at the time about how stock worked and just leaving it up to a Charles Schwab broker to say that I needed to diversify. And I'm like, oh, okay, you're a broker. You must know what you're talking about. And then after the dump, then I went and educated myself. I actually got these courses together that taught me how to do stock option trading, including iron condors and all these other exotic options. And so I really went deep into it and figured out I got to know this stuff. I can't trust these guys to, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And so I've always educated myself over the years, and now it's just, even with LLMs, I try to do it as quick as possible because I don't want to invest in anything I don't know 100%, know a lot about. And even when I invested in oil wells and gas wells back in the 2000s after NVIDIA, I had to know how oil wells were drilled and fracking and the vertical drilling and horizontal. I picked up a PhD or a book from college book on oil and gas exploration and drilling, and read both of them, two of them, before I made the investment. That's how, I guess that's how cynical I am now of other people saying this is a great investment. It's like, okay, let me go see what the risks are. And so I analyze the crap out of risk now on things.
Well, I will say that in my conversations with you, Ken, there is a target-rich environment for different topics to which I have found you to have kind of a dizzying level of knowledge, and the investing is definitely one of those targets. And I consider myself to be, reasonably knowledgeable, but then listening to you and then I back down. I'm like, okay, maybe not.
I think this is a good, not really a question here. Billion other choices is made. Yeah. Believe it or not, one of the things is one of the reasons that I am not going anywhere with this project is it is a culmination of my career. I mean, I was in the gaming space, and so it has that component. I went to work for NVIDIA for 4 years, and so I knew all about GPUs. It has that component. I have I got infrastructure experience back in 2013 with Amazon Web Services for my gaming company, Graffiti Entertainment. So that got me exposed to infrastructure and cloud-based stuff, which we kind of are a decentralized cloud. And then I've done consulting with businesses like Eddie Bauer and a bunch of other ones for the technology side of things. And so my whole career choices, it's just that rolled into what Genius is really. And so, I guess it is. I don't say it's probably not quite a billion other choices, but all right. Let's see here. Imagine a future where AI gets you every waking moment. How'd that get? Okay, that's interesting. Oh,
oh dear.
Yeah, I not really scared, but I'm pretty hyper aware of the possibility of that. And it's something that I've thought about at times. Like, I'll go out and, is my car going to start normally, in the morning? That's why I prefer to be Ninja right now. When it eventually happens, and it gets to the disruption point, I'll probably have to end up hiring some security, maybe, we'll see. I mean, I'm sure the billionaires all have security around them. And, when it gets to that point and we're disrupting, I'll probably have to hire a bunch of security to hang out with me. I hate that stuff though. I mean, I wish people would just appreciate, what I'm doing for society and the world but like we said, it's almost a fight against good versus evil. Yeah, I try not to let negative. That's the thing about me that you guys probably should realize is I cut negativity out of my life. And thinking about somebody, taking me out because I'm disrupting $1 trillion industry is very negative. So I try not to think about that stuff and focus on the positive stuff, and use the meditation and the praying to the supreme being, saying, give me the armor of God if somebody comes after me, basically. And
Well,
then,
if nothing else, Ken, I think that your enthusiasm is being such a driving force in keeping you focused, keeping the team focused. Doesn't leave much room anyway for the kinds of concerns that are being expressed here. So shortly after the question rolls up the screen, you'll have forgotten about it again.
oh, Mr. Eric Bessemer got the correct answer, by the way. You are correct, Eric.
I wasn't going to say anything. I saw that and I was like, silence.
Well, I mean, I told you what the company was. It's not hard to figure out who started that company. And then, so one of the things, we got a minute or two here. Funny story about that. So right after I contacted Matt, which is the guy's name that you guys, now you know his first name anyway. About 3 days later, I had a certain person looking at my LinkedIn website. And that person was, in February, he was the director of the Secret Service. And he was looking at my LinkedIn profile. I'm like, Oh, I guess, billionaires, since he's left government service, what they go into is they go into doing due diligence on people. I'm like, oh, I guess he probably got my email. So he's probably doing due diligence on me. And so then I waited about a week, and then I said, you know what? I'm just going to connect with that ex-director of Secret Service. Maybe I'll need his services someday. Speaking of, protecting myself. And so I connected, and he connected back with me. So that's kind of cool. So I got a first level connection. That's one of the ex-directors of the Secret Service that's on my LinkedIn profile now. Yeah, very interesting.
We're about at time, so
yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. So, well, I guess, yeah, it's 11:30. It was great. I don't see any other questions there. You can feel free, hopefully this was helpful to everybody. And, we can do this once a week or once every 2 weeks. I don't mind starting to ramp these up again. I really want to start a podcast where we have a panel, Brent, if we can, just on AI and stuff like that, and more focus on not on just Genius specifically, but the state of AI and crypto and things like that. And I was talking with Mario Noffel's group about that because they have some AI panel, and so I said, well, you and I could join the panel or something like that. So that would be good too as well. Hopefully, we can start that up. But it's kind of not the greatest time to be going around marketing yourself right now, anyway, in the crypto space.
Yeah, well, let's see. Well, with that,
yep.
Ken, I appreciate you, taking your time out your busy day. Well, in this case, you've got a little bit of a relaxing day, taking time out of a relaxing day to answer questions, have some conversation. Really enjoyed the time. I thank everyone who has been listening in, offering questions, comments, etc. And like Ken said, whether it be once a week or once every couple of weeks, we look forward to seeing our audience again. And with that, thanks, Ken.
Thank you, everyone. Talk to you soon, Brent. Bye.
All right. Take care. Bye.